Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, once again, I want to create a third podcast called Before the Podcast, because that stuff is gold. So we're going to call it Behind the Vault. But I have the opportunity of having Mr. Adam Carroll here. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, Austin. Thanks for having me on the show.
So in true Austin fashion, we have not met, but I am familiar of the name. You're famous. You're out there. You know, you're making the waves. But I have a theory of what you do, but I don't really know what you do. So I think I'll let you kind of tell the audience, and we'll kind of get going.
I love it. So it goes back a little bit, Austin. I'm gonna tell kind of a quick backstory, and then I'll share with you what I do and how I help people. I was in the mortgage business for a number of years. And I was a wholesaler with Countrywide, who I didn't realize was the Death Star at the time, but the writing was in big red letters as I was nearing the end of my time with them. And then I opened a brokerage, and believe it or not, I opened a mortgage brokerage in 2006, right near the pit of the subprime mortgage crisis. And I had a really successful mortgage brokerage from 2006 until about 2010. And the reason we were successful was my whole goal was I wanted to help refinance people's finances. So the goal of doing the mortgage was I wanted to put people in a better position once they were done with me than when they started. And so there was a huge amount of education that went along with that. And one of my loan officers came to me and said, found this amazing software. We need to dig into this. And the software was a mortgage acceleration program. And so what I now do is I teach people how to accelerate the amortization table of their mortgage, to free up equity, to be able to either do more investing, to lean their bills. In some cases, it's simply for peace of mind for some people who just flat out want to be out of debt. But I teach people how to create efficiency with their income to blast away debt and create more assets.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, I think that what's happened, because I used to work private equity, and that's where I learned like how money works.
Yes.
I got laid off during COVID. Like I thought I knew how money worked, but now I really realized how money works.
Yeah.
We're getting money from Blackstone. What? This like firm out of Austin is getting money, and then Blackstone disappeared, and then here we were, and the rates, through the roof. And I told my boss, if you think I'm going to peddle this dog shit, you're out of your mind. My name is everything. And if you think I'm going to go out in the community and try to get this on somebody, no. And I just walked away. And he's a good friend. But I said, no chance that I'm peddling 14% in 3 points. You're out of your mind.
No doubt.
And I said, I wouldn't be able to show myself in any meetup, But I think what's interesting is I think this is perfect. Okay. So I'm forming this kind of like hypothesis because I'm a business consultant for people. And I'm looking at a young person. And if I could ever go over and start again, I think there's 3 different monies. Okay. And I say monies like a joke because my nephew says, like, do you have monies?
Do you have any monies?
Yeah, monies. Yeah. He's like, do you have enough monies to buy me a toy? I'm like, yeah, I got some monies. Like I love that. I think there's short-term money to live on. I think there's long-term, and then I think there's wealth. And being rich is not wealthy. So that's the first thing. So I think that if I could go over and do it again, I would create a mechanism within my business that would generate money every month on the most predictable scale that's available. And then I would take 10% of that money and dump it into long-term assets. And then the third bucket would be buy businesses that create revenue every month.
Totally. And I agree with that model, that mentality. I think the minor shift that we make in what I do, and for the audience, we call it the shred method. Our goal with shred is to do 2 things. Number one, we want to create income efficiency because most people's income is truly, truly inefficient, Austin.
Sure.
And I'll give you an example.
What's your description of that? Just so I understand.
The best way to describe what income inefficiency is if you left your house in the morning to go to the grocery store at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and you came back to your house knowing that you had to go to the post office at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, would you leave your car idling in the driveway all day?
No.
Why not?
Because it would run poorly and it would cost a bunch of gas.
Yeah. So cost a bunch of gas, inefficient, might be damaging to the vehicle to idle all day long. Well, we get paid. Most of us get paid every 2 weeks or once a month or every week or whenever our payment plan is. And the money sits in our checking account, and it sits there, and we obviously draw from that using our debit card, right? Or we're swiping a credit card, but there's money sitting in an account most of the time while people have a compound interest debt that's costing them a significant amount. And so the second thing that we do with the shred method, and I'll come back to this income inefficiency, but the second thing we do is we want to teach people that our goal should be to be as lean as possible on a monthly basis. And you said it yourself, you're a lifestyle guy. But what people do is I want them to build a bigger life, not a bigger lifestyle. So lifestyle choices could be things like travel and eating out and all that kind of stuff. But for most consumers, lifestyle choices are, I got a fat ass ride I'm driving around in. I have a huge house I can barely afford. And obviously you're a little bit different. You're teaching people how to buy real estate that are investment properties and things like that. We're saying with the shred method, you could do that even faster by creating income efficiency with the money coming in every month.
That's amazing. I think it's interesting, right? We got some clients, what is everybody? There's something in the water right now, just so we're clear, because I had 5 clients in the last 10 days leave or put in their notice at their W-2. Okay. And I'm down with all that, but understand that you're about to enter the rough seas of called entrepreneurship. And as much as it gives you, it takes away too, right? And now I do love that about entrepreneurship. There's no ceiling. But I do have a client that when he first met me, he wanted to leave his job. And he is a emergency room nurse. And I told him, I said, for 10 years, you've been waiting for a tsunami and we're there. When have you ever been in more demand? And you're about to have twins than you've ever been in your life. And when can you get double overtime? Yeah.
Right.
So what we did is we reframed the way he looked at work. We put it on a clock. And now he goes in and makes an extra 20 grand a month for overtime. And that extrapolated over. And he goes, well, now I don't even want to leave my job because I'm in the time I'm supposed to be in.
Yep.
I know I've got an end date. And he's like, all the coworkers are like, man, you're so happy. And I'm like, yeah, because we've reframed the way you look at it. And now it's an opportunity instead of a fucking something
obligation. Yeah. We talk about that all the time, man. There's a fine line between opportunity and obligation. And you're exactly right. I mean, particularly for a guy like that, if he were to plug into the shred method, what we would teach is that all of that extra money he's making, let's create a ton of equity in his property, have access to it through, this is the magic pill, right? It's a home equity line of credit that everyone should have on their property. And when it comes time to do investment deals, he's just doing 20, 30, 40 grand a pop off the HELOC and immediately creating more cash flow that allows him to shred even faster.
I love it. So I have a perfect scenario, and I apologize ahead for the numbers because you're going to fall out of the back of your chair when you see how the Austin market is. So I have a brand new client. This is not a bullshit story. I swear to God. He bought a house for $845 at the end of just 2019. The home got appraised last week for $2 million. He's not using it because he can't rent it out on Airbnb. He can only do 30-day stays. He rented it out all next summer. So he paid for itself. But he wants to figure out how to use that. He's a big time agent, but he wants to figure out how to use that to go do investments. And his goal, his heart is set on Tahoe. He loves Tahoe. He's gone there his whole life. He's from there. And I said, that's great. But understand that you could take that money, instead of sinking it into one house that you're going to use twice a year, you could put it in a syndication deal. You could put it in a fund. So many more things that give you more freedom and leverage, because that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
When I hung out with my financial advisor who manages like 2 billion, and he owns a house with 4 other people in Tahoe, and then when they're not there, it's ran as an Airbnb.
Right.
And so now they have 3 of those. So my thought process is, especially with blockchain, especially with the way we're headed, I think fractional ownership and having multiple diversification assets is going to be the way of the future. Do you feel the same way? Because and just call me different. Like buying a 3-2 asset in like Omaha,
yeah,
like to rent it out does nothing for me. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't want me to do anything. But to have multiple properties with other people that I want to be in business with, I think that's what excites me the most about where we're headed with blockchain and fractional ownership, which is diversification.
Not only that, but it opens the door for all the people who want to be investors, but don't have the risk tolerance to go buy a 3-2 in Omaha or a $1 million place in Tahoe. In fact, there's 3 or 4 people in my network who we've said, what if we all threw in $100,000? What could we get? And, you put $500,000 towards an investment, you can get a pretty sweet place somewhere in the US that even if you had it for a week, a year, but it was Airbnb the rest of the time, the risk is mitigated. Everybody shares in the win. I couldn't agree more.
When you look at your clients, and you've helped a lot of people over the years, I know that from a coaching point of view of what I do, it doesn't matter if they're from Canada, Japan, women, man, there's like these standard qualities or issues that they're all dealing with, no matter what their sector they're in. Yep. Do you have kind of that standard thing that people don't understand about multiple things that seems to be the kind of same thing over and over again?
Yeah. In particular, I mean, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Number one in particular is that their money program is what they got when they were a kid. And we do a lot of programming on this with new clients of ours, where some of them, I mean, candidly, I'm working with a lot of business owners who just have a lot of cash on the sidelines in a savings account. And when I ask them, hey, why do you have $400,000 or $500,000 sitting in this passbook savings making 0.1%, if that? The answer I get quite often, and I'm not surprised by this, they'll say things like, well, my dad always said cash is king. And I'm like, your dad said that probably when you were 8 or 9 years old and cash was making 12% in a savings account. It's not king. It's a melting ice cube every day sitting in an account. And so we either have to have velocity of money, it's got to be moving. The bottom line is we have to reorient what our beliefs around money are. So that's number one, Austin. I think people have a really skewed idea of how money works. And it comes as a result of the fact that, our money personality is shaped by the time we're 9 years old. And most people's parents had them in their 20s. So I don't know about you, but most people I know in their 20s don't have any money. So all of the money program is from someone who had no money. And we still live into our 40s and 50s and wonder why, we can't take risks and real estate is risky and things like that. Well, we heard that growing up, and it's just not true. The other thing that I think is common among clients of mine that I have to really delineate is there is a difference between taking a calculated risk and being risky. And when they understand what a calculated risk is, you can wade into those waters very easily, knowing you can swim, versus being risky, taking a more risky approach. And, someone investing in crypto as an example that knows nothing about crypto, knows nothing about altcoins or where any of that's going, that could be risky. It's very volatile, particularly someone who's doing it on margin, right? I mean, you could get way underwater.
Well, I think, I'd never do that. But what I think is very interesting, and what I'm attacking, because one of my big clients, I coach the entire company, crypto, meta universe, NFT space. That's what they do. Yep. I've never learned so much in a short amount of time. But what I'm realizing is I'm going the other way. So what we're doing is we're designing blockchain DAOs to take all their millions that they got, and I'll just be frank, got lucky with, because they were just like, we're going to go in a different direction. Now they're millionaires, multi-millionaires, but they're still not good investors.
Right.
And so they're looking how to take their money out, put it with a good investor, and put it in a tangible asset where that money can make money forever. And so when I saw that, I go, that's the key. Because just because they made, this is very important, just because they made a bunch of money doesn't mean that they were a good investor.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't even know, I remember this guy, heard this podcast. He lives in Austin. He started in college, this e-cigarette company before it was anything. He got $180 million and lost 60 million of it with a bad financial advisor because he didn't know what he's like, I didn't really know investing at all. So he started a podcast and all he brought on was people who taught him investing. And now he's doubled that money because he just talked to a bunch of people that knew investing. Awesome. So same thing.
Yep.
And my favorite people to bust their balls is agents, because I coach a bunch and they're an easy target. There's a lot of people out there that think they're the hot shit right now.
Yeah.
When the market's telling them they're a great agent. So my question to you is, what is it going to look like when the tides change?
Yeah.
Do you have the principle? Do you have the discipline? Have you put money away? Have you invested the cash that you have?
Yep.
Right. And when I had Bruce Peterson talk at my event, and he talked about selling a 230 unit, he was upset. And I was like, you just made 350 grand. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, but I don't have the 9 grand coming in the month anymore. And I was like, oh. And that kind of like, that shifted everything for me. I was like, he's like, don't get me wrong, the 350 is great, but every month I'm clawing at the 350.
Yeah.
That's when you get around people like that and you're like, okay.
Well, that's like a knowledge bomb, isn't it? Where it goes off in your head and you're, oh shit. Okay. Cash flow. That's the important part. On the agent comment that you made, a good buddy of mine by the name of Chad Carden always used to say that if you run downhill long enough, you'll think you're an athlete. And agents right now are all running downhill. You know what I mean?
Dude, we can't even get them to get out of bed for a $2 million buy in Smokies. They're so fat and happy right now. So we just have to source them ourselves because we can't even get them to answer back to us.
So crazy. But you're right. Like, what happens when the tide goes out and, are you wearing a swimsuit or not? I think
that is one of my favorite quotes ever.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. Yeah. When the tide goes out, are you wearing a swimsuit or not?
I was a big fan of Jim Rohn back in the day. Do you remember Jim Rohn? He was Tony
Robbins. Yeah, man. He's everything.
Yeah. And the cadence in which he talked. And I mean, he was awesome.
I can mirror that.
Let's hear it.
Like, no. Like, I can't, like, when I speak, sometimes they say I do it. And I'm like, his favorite quote, he's got so many, but my favorite quote ever, because I get up early. He said, if you knew where I was going, you'd know why I'm up so early.
That's good, man. That is really good.
Yeah,
that is really good. He always used to say that go into a millionaire's home and they've got a library, but they didn't buy the library when they became a millionaire. They read the library to become a millionaire. And he was talking about that it's the process of becoming a millionaire that makes you who you are. So going back a couple paces, some of these crypto folks who made millions and millions and millions of dollars, you wonder, like, did they really create the habits to build that, or did they get lucky? And I wonder what will happen to all that wealth that's been created when and if the tide goes out.
I think one of the bigger things that really rubs against me the wrong way is, and I'm down for all of it, because I truly believe, I was having this conversation this morning, I truly believe that making money is an art, growing a business is an art, coaching is an art. Like, everything that you do is like some display of knowledge / skill / action, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, what I can't stand is those people that say, like, I'm going to die on my art. Like, here's my fucking shit. And like, my philosophy has always been this: I have 2 things I care about. It's the only things I care about. Everything else that happens is a byproduct of these 2 things.
Yeah.
I want to create jobs and I want to impact everybody I meet. Okay. That's it. That's the North Star. They don't change. This is what when I got sober and I was homeless, I was a drug addict, like all those things. That's all I care about. And if that's the case, well, then in order to do that, I got to make a ton of money. Right. And I think people are like selling themselves short when they're saying, I don't need the money. Look, I don't need the money either. In the last 7 months for me, like, my mind hurts how great it's been. Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the difference. When I finally had that holy shit month, I go, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
And then I realized that who I was inside didn't change. My options got bigger. That's it.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, then you just realize it's a game, and the game's fun as shit.
Well, and it goes back to your nurse example. What you did was you gave that nurse purpose to go into work and have fun every day, knowing that there was an end game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love that. And I know of which you speak. Like, this last year has been one of the best years we've ever had. And, you know, these months would go by and we were clocking massive numbers. And, but it didn't change our life at all. Like,
No.
I'm still living in the same house, driving the same car.
Dude, we're in an RV right now. We've been in for like 5 days, been in Costa Rica for a week. And I thought to myself, I go, this is perfect. Now, I don't have kids. I preference a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I thought to myself was, oh, I don't need as much as I thought. This is perfect. This is perfect because this is good. Because here's the deal. We're working on some shit that's going to like blow my mind out of the back of my body.
Yeah.
But this is going to keep me humble.
Yeah.
This is going to keep me humble because, you know, I think that what concerns me, and you can almost like, it's this inauthentic, like, draw towards transactions.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that my reputation and my need to help people will serve me till the day I walk off this planet. And the moment that I turn it to focus on how much I made this month is the moment that it all goes away. And I think there's so many people out there that are not looking, you know, I've been through some dark shit in my life, like some real effed up craziness, meth addiction, alcoholism. And there were people in my life that lifted me up, you know. And I think that what I think is more important than anybody, and I want to write a book on this, is social capital.
Yes.
And I can tell about you that your need for your business, whether or not you had the best year or not, was born out of your need to help people, and you have been helped with karma on the back end because that is the driving force of the business.
Yes. I love this. And if I can help contribute to this book in any way, shape, or form, I would, Austin. You'll love this.
I think the book is written. I think the book is written from a place of each entrepreneur has their own chapter about what social capital means to them.
Yeah.
I think that's how you get the most value out of the book, because it's this metaphysical thing that nobody can describe.
Yes.
But ultimately, I think it gets everybody farther, right? Like,
yes,
there is this thing, and I tell my clients all the time, there's this thing where you see me as this like loving, soft, like understanding person, but know that also I want to fucking destroy and win at everything. You know, so there's this like delicate dance of like, it's always there in the background, but I don't need to like, it doesn't need to be what comes through the front door.
Yeah.
Because my thing is this, and tell me how this resonates with you. I actually think winning and constantly winning is harder than not.
Yes.
You want me to do this again? You want me to do this again? I don't know if I'm capable. Have
you taken the Enneagram?
Yes. And I think I always take these tests and I'm like 90% something. Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me. You're probably a 3, which is the achiever, it is all about winning and what does winning look like and all that. But your wing is 2, which is a helper, which is probably why you do what you do.
Yeah. Right? I'm an architect builder. That's kind of like my thing. It's like, because like once we've already like got it, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Pass it off to that person.
Yes. Good starter, terrible finisher, just like me.
Exactly. Yes.
So I want to speak really quick to this social capital idea and I think you'll love this concept. You know, I've spoken on college campuses for years and years and years. I've like 750 schools have brought me in as a guest lecturer in the past 10 or 15 years. And I did a program called Networking Power. But POWER was an acronym that stood for promoting opportunities while establishing relationships. So when you meet someone for the first time, most of us ask, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? How long have you done it? Do you have family? And what we should be asking is, what is a huge project you're working on you would love to get help finishing? Or, hey, what are you super passionate about right now? Or what is something you would love to get done by the end of the year that you're thinking you probably can't?
Yes.
And then I start going through my Rolodex of like, who can I connect them with that could help them get to where they want to go?
We're the same person.
And every time
The joke with me is if you need a goat farmer in Puerto Rico, I got you.
You've got one. So you'll love this, man. I was at this event and I'm like, I got to test this out. Because I had this theory that if you're going to write a paper, you're going to go to Google and you search something, and within milliseconds, millions of returns come back, right? Millions of results. But if you want to get something done, don't we also have that capability in our own network? But most of us are afraid to ask for help. And most of us never really say what it is we truly want for fear that we're going to look like an asshole or whatever, right? Needy or wanting or whatever. So I was in this room with the group and I said, I want to know what your dream job is. Who has a dream job? And this young guy raised his hand. I said, what's your dream job? He said, I want to be an accountant for an NHL team. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's try this. Anyone in the room have any contacts within the NHL? And this young guy raises his hand in the back of the room. He goes, my best friend's grandpa owns the Boston Bruins. I asked this guy, what is it you want to do? He goes, I want to do Teach for America. Young lady raised her hand in front. She goes, the past president of our chapter is the recruitment director for Teach for America. And we went around this room in Austin. Within 1 degree, we connected like 20 people with their dream job. And I said, this is social capital. You are not leveraging this hard enough. Everyone in here wants to help you get where you want to go. You just got to be really specific about what that is.
You know what the top 1% does that others don't do? They ask.
I want to say, ask. I was going to say, have a really clear idea, but
Jim Rohn quote.
Yeah.
Because I just heard a podcast with Ed Milet and this Yale professor who's a influence thing.
Yeah.
And I think I can wrap this around a couple different arguments. When let's say you're a CEO of a company and you need to have this tough conversation with a person that the project's not going to continue or you're not going to do this with them, right? And you're sitting there and you're wasting 3 months because you don't want to have this conversation. Because why? Because you are creating expectations on how they're going to react, not giving them the freedom to be themselves. So if you had the conversation with them, instead of looking at it that way, saying, I might be giving them freedom to go chase something that they've always wanted to go do. So I need to have the conversation.
Yes.
And so one of the things I always do, and this always happens every fucking time, I made a rule to myself 2 years ago that I always tell everybody what I do all the time. You know what happened last week? Oh yeah, I'm talking to this Major League Baseball player, bro. There's like a couple all-star. I'm like even starstruck that I'm having this conversation with him. And I was like, oh yeah. And my coaching client, we do NFT projects. And he was like, dude, I've been looking for 6 months. He's like, do you think this is something? I said, how about we just do this? And he goes, just like that? And I go, just like that. And so we have a meeting on Wednesday and he's like, well, fuck, that was easy. And I'm like, if I wouldn't have said something, we would have just passed. And so it's not that everybody's going to say, and in the same podcast, she said that when you're starting out in business or in life, set up scenarios where you know you're going to get rejected on a small scale.
Yep.
So when you go for the big ask, you already have the feeling of being rejected, right? Because what I realize in new investors, it's not the mechanisms of the investing that they don't understand. They don't have a reference for the feeling of the chasm of going from no investments to one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once they touch the feeling, then it's really easy every more time. So it's not that they don't have the skills. It's not that they don't have the mindset. They can't get over the A to B jump of the feeling of uncertainty. And then, like we're closing on $1 million flip to ourselves on Airbnb. I haven't seen it. I don't care what it looks like. And everybody's like, how are you so fucking lackadaisical about this? I'm like, I'm not lackadaisical. If I thought about it for 2 seconds, I'd probably get nervous, but we know what we're doing. I've done it for 6 years. I'm just going to go do it because I've had the feelings, the uneasy feelings, the loss of money. Yep. And so everybody that's listening to me, you're not looking to learn. You're not looking to listen to another podcast to tell you how to flip a house. It's very fucking basic. Actually, to be honest with you, real estate is one of the most boring concepts on the entire planet when you understand it. What you're actually looking for is the feeling.
Man. And I think that idea that people don't know what that feeling is, or they can't touch it. They don't know what it is. this is probably a through line in this story. I've been a speaker for a number of years, and when I got started, people said, well, I wouldn't even know how to become a public speaker. And I was like, yeah, I didn't either. I just asked myself, if I did know, what would I do? And you go out and you start doing it. But then when people say, hey, I want to go do this, but I'm super scared about what it means, and I've spent a year crafting the perfect message and all of that, as well as I do, it's like, you don't need the perfect message. You need to go sell a deal, and you need to get told no, and you need to have your head tapped over and over again and get over it until someone realizes that you have a really cool story to tell.
I love that. And so the question they asked, here's the magic question. What would it take for us to? What would it take for us to work together today? What would it take for you to buy your first investment property? What would it take for you to pay off your home 6 years earlier?
Yeah.
That's the question that we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the story that she told was, never mind, I don't want to tell that story because it's going to take it down a dark path. But basically, the problem in the community was not the problem. It was fixing a different problem that fixed that problem.
Yeah.
So we're not asking the questions out of ourselves.
Right.
Right. So the question is, and this is my philosophy in money and just in general, whatever your goals are right now are meaningless. Why are they meaningless, Austin? Because your goals are only a vision of the past version of who you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if, let's say that your goal is $5,000 a month, passive. Well, when we get to 5,000, then we can write real goals. Because now you have the security of that. Now we know exactly what we want, and what's going to pull against your lifestyle are two different things. When people write out their goals to me, and it's that same bullshit goal, $10,000 a month, and I'm like, this feels so hollow to me. This doesn't feel like anything. But let's get to 5.
Yeah.
And then let's see if you even want to go to another 5. I could tell you the 90 conversations I've had with Airbnb owners when I meet them. Oh, dude, I want 200 properties, bro. 200 for sure. You go meet them 2 years later and they're at like 8. They're like, no, fuck, I'm good. Like,
I got
because they're good now because it's different and they don't need it and things have changed. So my philosophy is I'm far less concerned with what I have goals, but I'm more concerned about what that does to my lifestyle. And then do I operate from a value prop on what I do? I had a good friend. He said, look, I got 3 kids. I'm busy. He goes, if these things fit in these 7 buckets, it impacts the community. It impacts my family. It creates a lifestyle I want. And we get to travel. If it fits in those buckets, I'll say yes to it, right? So my question to you is, how many people actually have that written out?
That is a great question. And if I were to speculate, 10% of the people I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, candidly, this is a good head tap for me, because one of the things that I've been working on this year is saying no to more things.
Yes.
And I'm studying Stoicism a little bit and going through some Ryan Holiday stuff. And my mom actually got me a Zen page a day calendar. And one of the,
do you find yourself, I want to dig in here a little bit. Do you find yourself not Zen, or do you find yourself loving opportunities?
I love opportunities. I am super mellow and nothing stirs me really.
I can feel that about you. So in my opinion, it's not so much stoicism. It's a value prop of how big can I take this and how big do I want to?
That's a good call out.
You're not searching for what I am, which is peace. If you knew how many people I talk to in a day, but I'm just so happy to be sober that I don't give a fuck. And life is like fucking amazing. Okay. Like I've lost 80 pounds. Like life is great. Like, I'm in a loving relationship. So I would venture to guess that Zen is not, but here there's frameworks to learn in the Stoicism space.
Yep.
But I think the framework that's sitting back here behind the Zen is am I worthy to go here? when I know just meeting you in this amount of time that you are, when you stop telling yourself you'll stop playing small.
Yeah.
Here's my philosophy.
Yeah.
Here's my philosophy on life. This is how I live every day. If I know that Gary Vee wakes up every day and says he's playing small, then we got shit to do.
That is true.
Because ultimately understand that the capability of what's available to us and the amount of opportunities are solely based on the fact that we believe that we are the creator of our own momentum.
Yeah.
So if you are the creator of your own momentum, then understand this: your goals are meaningless. But in this moment, if you show up the highest and best version of yourself, then we have no idea what may be available.
Yeah. I feel like you just saw through me, Austin, candidly. Because when you said that, I've been seeking this. I don't think I've been seeking Zen or Stoicism. I like to study it, but I would like to consider myself a pretty unflappable guy. Not much stirs me.
So I actually think you need to be flappable. So I'm an out of the box coach. Okay. And so my suggestion to you is as simple as this. And this is, nobody would ever give you this advice ever. For 90 days, messy action. Like almost off-kiltered opportunity, just devour them all. And then when the plate's full, then you'll know exactly where you need to be.
Messy action. Dude, I like this. I'm going to take this to heart. Truly.
Because we're so worried about our morning routines. We're so worried about all this bullshit that we need to do. And sometimes I just read an amazing book. I took what I needed from it called blitzscaling. It's a concept in business where you push as hard as humanly possible. And that's how Facebook, Uber got started. No systems, no bullshit. They just went for it because they got the market space. And then they backed up, pulled away what they wanted, and then kept what they wanted, and then pushed forward again. And that's the way I would do it. When I started my podcast during my divorce, during my layoff, I did 180 episodes in a year.
Wow.
I was doing 9 a day because I just didn't have anything else going on. Yeah. And I was like soul searching. I'm meeting all these amazing people, and I'm just like learning. And then I got to the end of the year and I'm like, I'm tired. I need a break. So I took off 3 months. I said, okay, what's the audience? Who are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I pulled back, and then we went again. And so one of my favorite quotes is, don't mistake comfort for happiness.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get like, okay, I'm here, but I don't know how much you make a month. But my question to you is, what if you made double that?
Yeah.
Like, what if you just said, I'm going to make double that, and it's the stretch. Like, it's almost like this harpoon in your chest. It's like pulling you, but who am I going to be able to become in that moment? Like, if I told you whatever your goals are this year, I want you to rip them up right after this interview, and I want you to double them. What's the feeling that comes over you right now when I say that?
Candidly, I know they're possible. And I think it speaks to the idea that I'm limiting myself. This has turned into like a coaching session, which I kind of dig. But I'm limiting myself, and I know exactly why and what causes it.
Okay, why?
There is there is a script that I play out quite often about safety and security, and making sure that my family feels super secure and safe. And I think,
hold on.
Yep.
No, they're not telling you that. They're not saying that. That's you. So I coach a lot of older men that make money. And I'm going to let you know right now, the moment that you can make peace, that you want to be great and don't say it's on them, is the moment that you free yourself to move forward.
And
you know what men do?
How do you free yourself?
You know what men do? Oh man, I'm fucking killing it, man. I'm working so hard for you. What about this life that we created? Right? And they're going, we didn't ask you to. But what you can say to yourself is, I need this for me. And once you say it's for me and you own it, boom. Because here's the rub with parents. you're telling me that you're sacrificing for your kids, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But what your kids are also asking out of you subconsciously, not even asking you, is for you to be the best version of yourself and live your truths.
Yeah.
So every moment that you're not living your truths, you're not showing them how great they can be subconsciously.
Damn. You hear that? That was magical. Dang, Austin. What do I do? How do I do that? Give me an exercise to go through.
You truly write down. It's very simple. And this is what I believe. There are personal business. So there's no business issue. Business issues don't exist. There's personal problems wrapped up in business.
Yep.
Simple as that. Business problems do not exist. If you are not talking to your staff properly, you need to work on your communication more. It has nothing to do with the business.
Yep.
So I believe that there's 3 pillars to everything. So there's a health pillar, a business pillar, and a personal pillar. Inside those pillars, there's an action that will elevate all of them that you refuse to do. Whether that's double the goal, whether that's take on this opportunity that you've been thinking about for months, because it's very easy. And we talk about this in my group coaching mastermind. We started with a bunch of coaches. When you get to a certain age and you're making some money and the family's safe, that risk portfolio is just, it doesn't appetize you like a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
But you're also not allowing yourself to feel the true power that is existing. And moreover, what a perfect year to do it, because it's the year of the lion. So in Chinese culture.
Yeah.
And so we just say it 16 times a day. Best year ever. Best year ever. So if it's the best year ever, then I need to be the best version of myself ever. And we're calling it the foundational construction of empires this year. I'm not trying to get to 10 grand. I'm trying to build a fucking empire.
Yeah.
You know what my goal in life is? This is my 100% goal. Everybody asks me, what's your end game?
Yeah.
I want to be 75 years old. I want to be walking down a cobblestone street in Tuscany, Italy, from my property, where I just cooked my Airbnb guest breakfast and served them the wine that I grow. I want to be walking down the street, and I want somebody to yell out across the street, "That's motherfucking Austin Linney!" And I want him to run up to me, and I'm like, "Sir, I don't know you." And he goes, "I know you don't know me, but you coach so and so, and he changed my life."
Yeah. I love that vision.
Second circle of impact.
Yep.
And you're doing the same thing, but I would imagine if I pry and continue to poke, there's an idea, there's a thought that's been rolling around in that noggin for months or years or whatever that you've dreamed about executing on, but you haven't pulled the trigger on it. Because then what it's going to ask out of you, you don't know if you got it in the tank.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're spot on, man. I know exactly what it is too.
It's just that you haven't been surrounded with the right support to pull it off. That's all.
Yep.
It's not that you can't do it personally. It's that you need those people. You need the coach. You need the team around you.
Yep.
And I would imagine if you took a couple of minutes, they're probably waiting for you right there.
Yeah. I've got, it's interesting because I've built a really healthy team right now. And I think we're missing 1, maybe 2 components. And as soon as that's there, it's like the final, tumbler falls into place and this thing opens up.
I love it.
Yeah.
So how long is it going to take you to find those 2 people?
Not long, because I've got a handful of people in mind that I just need to make it work. And I know who they are, I think. So, yeah.
So when are you going to
call it? Messy action?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's I think what I'm in for the next 90 days, messy action.
I love it. And ultimately, guys, whoever's listening to this, this is a very successful man that has had a ton of success in his career, that no matter how much success feeds him, there's still more success. And so for all you young kids that are listening, you're not going to get to some point where it's going to go away, baby. The hunger is always there. And so when you make peace, that lifestyle, health, everything, it doesn't stop. It's a continual graduation of small wins over and over again. And stop trying to become a millionaire in 6 months and just grow as a person. It'll all take care of itself.
Yeah. Dude, that's a good word. I love how you all tied it all together too at the end. And it's funny, that's the one thing that I heard over and over again when I was speaking on college campuses was, students would say, well, I got to get it figured out. I got to get it figured out in my 20s. And I'm like, nope.
I get it figured out till 36.
Yeah, that is not the case. Hell, your prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until you're 26 or 27, right?
So if you talk to my fiance, you're actually not truly a grown-up till 29. Like astrologically and universal wise. So like y'all are trying to get it figured out, like, just let it roll, man. Try different things, travel, yes, no, and understand that everything is a thing until it's not a thing. Like meaning that I spent 20 years in hospitality thinking, God, I wasted 20 years, but yet every one of those skills shows up in every aspect of my business now, and I'm better for it and the best CEO because of it. And so like you have to understand that there was that time and space that I needed that.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is awesome.
All right. So if people want to find out about what you got going on and stuff like that, how would they do that?
Yeah, Austin, the best place for people to go is theshredmethod.com. And we have a free masterclass you can go through and it'll teach you exactly what to do, how to do this. The key, candidly, is you got to figure out income efficiency. Like making money is great, but I don't think people have a cash flow problem. They have a liquidity problem. And I help people create liquidity through the Shred Method. So check it out, shredmethod.com.
Awesome. Guys, if you got some value from this and you enjoy it, send it to a friend. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.